So then you are more qualified than I to answer this question, which I got several times on comments in my live post the Canadian GP. Some people say the Canadian GP is not a street circuit. It is a track on an island. What do you say from being there in person? Because you actually got to also walk the track, correct?
I did, yeah. I kind of broke some rules a little bit. Yeah. So I had not. So we actually know that that's slightly tongue in cheek because they were
Yeah.
already planning for people to walk the track, but the way in which it actually works is quite complex. And to
Okay.
be able to get as close to the podium as we were able to get, you had to know sort of where they were going to open the gates from. Right.
Gotcha.
So I wasn't trying to get through a marshal post and like squeeze through and awkwardly kind of get through there and fall, publicly. That wasn't my plan.
Gotcha.
They ended up opening the barriers near the Wall of Champions at the final chicane. And we
Oh,
sort of went
plenty
there
to
and
talk
sort of
about that.
ran down to where the start finish line is. But
Okay.
yeah, I do understand this idea of a street circuit versus another circuit because traditionally, when people think of street circuits, what they think of is a taking over of public streets in the sort of the mainland of an area,
Right.
in sort of cordoning off a part of the city with sort of right angle corners and things, and then you drive through there, sort of like a traditional like IndyCar style, street circuit. That's what
Right.
you mean by street circuit. But actually, there's an entirely different type of street circuit that is taking place not so much on public roads. It's still public roads, but not regularly trafficked roads. It's
Okay.
actually sort of one of those like sort of city park type of things
Okay.
where the roads there aren't always used every day. Well, they are used every day, but not necessarily for the type of traffic that you're normally thinking of.
Right.
It's a park. It's already sort of a dedicated section of land that is
Right.
actually perfect for hosting races and things because you can just isolate the entire island. It's actually very similar to how Miami is, believe it or not, because Miami was traditionally thought of as a street circuit as well. In a way, it is. But the
Right.
reality is that entire campus of the Hard Rock Stadium is kind of in its own block. You're
Not
not actually
exactly.
driving on regular streets anywhere in that circuit. That actually is what really made the Miami Grand Prix feel a lot more like a traditional circuit than anything else because the road was laid down, on top of this area. There were actually some slight elevation changes, although people couldn't quite see that. But as far as Canada goes, I can understand people that would say it's not a street track.
Right.
I think I understand what they're getting at, but I think technically it still counts as a street track in the sense that there's not a tremendous number of runoff areas, and if you go offline, you're liable to hit the wall.
Yeah.
I remember that Yuki Tsunoda had a bit of a snap on the exit of one of the chicanes, and then
Right.
later on, when I was doing the track walk, I could actually see that specific part of the track where his tire hit it, and the rubber was just still there.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's actually a very cool thing, and as I said
Damn.
before, doing a track walk gives you some perspective you don't really have. I'll give you a great example of this. On the exit of the turn 3, turn 4 chicane, it's
Okay.
like you have the normal, left-hander, right-hander of the 1 and 2, and there's a short little blast of this sort of right-left chicane. You remember where Sebastian Vettel went off in that sort of famous one in
Yes.
2019. The exit of that chicane is actually pretty downhill. It's actually more downhill
Than it
than it
looks.
looks on television because when the camera's looking, the camera's already looking down anyway. So it's
Okay.
difficult to get a real perception of what the elevation change is. But the exit of turn 4 is actually downhill. And it actually makes a lot more sense when you see drivers slamming against the side of that wall and just accelerating so hard out of that corner. You're like, why are they going so fast, so quickly there? Part of the reason is because it's downhill. And then you see that
Mm.
log turn 5, which is completely flat out and very, very fast, which is a very cool thing to walk. And then I actually saw turn 6 and turn 7, that very slow chicane after that. I saw that from the stands in the beginning of the race and got some cool footage from there. So there are any
Yeah.
number of things that you can learn from doing an actual track walk. I have more to talk about, especially when you talk about the long back straight. But I
Right.
think you had another question, so we'll get to that first.
Thanks for tuning in and watching another video here at Wolfpack Performance. Check out some of my other content on Formula One issues, our topics, and our DIY products on how to customize your vehicle. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.